Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kuyo here, and I want to do a little rant. It's about something I don't really see any videos about. It's more of a theory on the Elder Scrolls universe, the entirety of it, and I'm gonna really put this all into layman's terms because I really just got with it myself, like in the last couple of days. And it's the idea that the entirety of the Elder Scrolls universe, everything, like even above Sithis and all that stuff, like in the Void, that it's all just a dream inside of this giant Godhead, hence the name, the Godhead theory. Now, to start off, you might be asking, what is a Godhead? Like, what exactly is this crazy thing that you're talking about? Well, before we even get there, we need to talk about something called the Psijic Endeavor. Now, the only known source of the Psijic Endeavor is a book written by Michael Kirkbride, who was a author for the entire Elder Scrolls series and made up the majority of its lore. Now, this book talks about how one can achieve something called Kim or Chim, which in the ancient Elfinex, which was like the old old spirits that used to live on Nirn's language, it means royalty or starlight and high splendor. And what this means is basically that you become something that is so powerful that it's above even the gods. And so far, we only know about two beings that ever did it. Like, for example, there's Talos, who was the culmination of Kelti Earlybeard, who was basically believed to be the actual Tiber Septim himself, as well as Zern Arctus, the battle mage, who's like this crazy strong guy, and lastly, Eastburn Wolfarth, who, if you know about actually deeper lore, was the Underking in Daggerfall. Now, though, and also, yeah, there's also Vivek. And the thing is that all of those guys, well, Talos is the culmination of those three that I mentioned earlier, were people who went through the Psijic Endeavor, and as a result, survived it. Well, not really survived, but kind of did it incorrectly. I'll get there in a second, but and as a result, they came out as gods, or something even stronger than that. Now, as to what happened to Vivek after he went through Kim and Chim, and he's been gone for like the last 300 years, ever since the destruction of the Red Mountain, we don't know. But that's beyond the point. Moving on forward, the Psijic Endeavor is a process in which you achieve godhood, like I said earlier. Now, essentially, what this whole process of Kim is a way to connect with a higher being, or essentially make yourself one with everything and experience an ineffable sense of the Godhead. Like, become one with it and escape the world, or as it refers to in the book, escape the strictures of the world egg. Now, at the same time, this means that you're gonna be gone, but you won't be gone. Now, what I mean by this is that when you enter into the state of the Psijic Endeavor, which is done through some sort of different, uh, it's like a meditation state, or through very different types of things, hence the reason why it's called Endeavor. And what it does is it forces you into attuning yourself with the universe. And you might be asking, like, why would people do this? Well, the whole purpose of the Psijic Endeavor was to transcend mortal boundaries and get rid of all the rules set in place by the gods and observe everything that goes on in the universe, and eventually the tower. Now, what the tower is that you know that standing stone that you see in Skyrim, or that sign that you get in Oblivion or Morrowind? Well, that's the tower. Now, when you enter Kim, time, space, and everything bends inwards towards you, and you see the tower, and you will be asked a few questions. For example, you might even be asked questions about your existence. But most importantly, you will see that tower. And the biggest thing that comes out of this is the zero-sum equation. Now, the zero-sum equation is basically going to be a statement given to you by the tower and everything around it. And essentially, it's a realization that you exist, but you don't exist. Now this pushes forward into the Godhead thing where it's telling you that you're one, like the number one. We'll do like it's like a little math equation where you're one, but at the same time you're negative one. And by seeing this truth, one thing should happen. That equation should cancel out, because 1 minus 1 is always 0. And as a result, you'll realize that everything that you've lived for, everything that you've seen is fake. That the universe is but a dream inside of a unknowable creature, being, that has just dreamt you up. It's almost like the thing that happens when people start saying, oh, we're living in a matrix, or what if we're really just in a dream? Well, that's what happens here. But in this case, it's you realize that everything is fake. And as a result, you disappear from existence. By understanding your mortality, you realize that the Godhead is the only thing that really is. And a dream gaining consciousness results in it not being a dream anymore. So what does this mean? You disappear. That's not the only option. If you obsess, insist, tell the tower that you do exist, what happens? 1 minus 1 equals 1. You do exist. That's what happens. And by coming out of this equation, telling the tower that you do exist, you wear the crown. Now, there's a thing called that it refers to as a crown, where once you wear it, it's a symbol for you passing through Kim incorrectly, but at the same time conquering it. Because going through Kim properly is getting rid of yourself in the universe. That's essentially the end of the Psijic endeavor. The Elfinax wanted to return to what they were. Well, the Elfinae, sorry. I said the actual language, but... And by doing that, that's what you've done, right? So what's the point of existing? But that's where people who have achieved Kim, which is incorrectly passing through the Psijic endeavor, have actually become gods. And once you wear that crown on your head, and you proclaim that you exist inside of this crazy dream of this Godhead, you will take your seat in the tower, and you will wear your crown, and you will become a being of immense power, almost as if you suddenly became a part of the dreamer's head himself, or itself. And it's like a very vivid dream in which everything is controlled by you. Hence the reason why people who come out of Chim are able to control time and space around them, and even supersede things like Sithis, or Padme, or Anuiel, or etc. But this also leads to one more thing, where we don't really know what happens. What happens to the people who don't successfully make it out of Chim without disappearing from existence? You see, the one repercussion of trying to go through the Psijic endeavor is that if you do it correctly, you will disappear from existence. No one will ever have heard of you. They'll think that nothing happened, as if nothing was ever real about you. But those who do come out of it are the reason we even know anything about it. So, what does that really mean? Does that mean that perhaps the end of the Elder Scrolls games will involve something with this Godhead? Or maybe that's the reason for Tamriel's importance? Or maybe even that the player himself is a being that's already achieved Kim and has been living through these experiences. You never know. And that's just how the Elder Scrolls universe is. Which brings into part a point of mine that I'd like to make. That Michael Kirkbride, the guy who wrote this, the book called More on the Psijic Endeavor, has brought so much to the Elder Scrolls universe, and that by throwing into something called CODA, and which is basically what is considered to be true and not true until Bethesda otherwise says so, in the games, which sometimes aren't even crap, or otherwise. That his writing has so much potential, and that people so easily let it slide. That, oh, it's just part of CODA, that's not confirmed. But I think that this Godhead theory has so much weight on it, and I've yet to see a video on it about YouTube, but it has so much weight on it that it could change everything, and probably change the entire Elder Scrolls universe. Elder Scrolls 6, anyone? Yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe. You never know. Anyways, it's been a rant. This is my first time doing a rant, but kind of just pulled things up, thinking like what relates to the Godhead. Some of this might not be 100% right, but just my thoughts on what they are. I tried to explain a little bit. Tell me in the comments what you think, and if this does well, I might just make another one explaining something else, like that little Talos thing I talked about earlier. Well, this is Kuyo signing off. See ya.